It's funny because this podcast is like going in directions that are not in directions, but like it's just, I guess it's that thing where like you start something and you have an idea of how it's going to be, and then like a month down the line it's completely different.
Yeah.
Like it's not completely different, but it's just like, I don't know. Like I guess I'm deciding to do things differently than I originally thought, just because I don't know. People are hard to find, and then like it's hard to even, especially when you're thinking of like getting in contact with people who are like under a username online, then like maybe they don't even want to be like known,
Right.
or like for people to like hear them talk about stuff. But anyway, I decided to ask you to be a guest today because I don't want this to become too like academic, which is kind of like where it started going, which is fine, and like I'm interested in that obviously, but it's kind of like I also want to talk just about like life, or not about life, but like about personal,
Yeah.
like from that perspective.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I do have like specific things that like I want to ask you about, but I don't even know if we should get into those yet or not. Well, I guess why not? We're already recording. Well, I was thinking like, well, first of all, obviously I want to talk about Teen Wolf
Of course.
because
Wait,
not
where are you? Or
okay.
what?
I am well, just to, and I hate like talking or like mentioning like the quote unquote audience, because it like for me it pulls me like way out of like our our conversation.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh wait, people are listening to this, and they will. Um, but I am at the beginning of season 3, I think I'm still, like, I just finished the 3rd episode, and it's funny because I've been reading a lot, thanks to, Caroline, another friend of ours. I have been reading a lot of fan fiction for it, and instead of watching the show, I'll just be like, well, I'll just read something else. It's also because, like, I have that feeling of, like, oh shit, everything's gonna get really complicated right now, and so it's like, I'd rather just, like, read something light or, like, whatever.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, like, it's so scary to come into a new fandom that is so, like, crazy, or, like, or I shouldn't say crazy, but, like, shit, that's so, I don't know. You know what the Teen Wolf fandom seems
Yeah, like they're really, there's not a word, like they're super, I don't know, like in touch with things, or,
like.
I don't know. I
But
don't know what the word
you
is.
mean like the actual, like the cast and stuff?
No, like the fandom with, like, with everything that happens on the show is just very, like, I don't know. Like, I know, of course, like with everything, you think that the characters are real people, or like you have real emotional connections. But I feel like the Teen Wolf fandom is very, like, if someone dies, like, you literally killed their cousin or something, like, it's just real, like, everyone just loses their mind.
Yeah, it's similar to the Supernatural fandom, I feel like.
Yeah.
Except with like less incest.
Yeah.
But I don't know, and I don't really know how to deal with that, because I feel like the show itself like lends itself to that kind of reaction. Like it's kind of like so serious in a way, or like so angsty at times, but like
Yeah.
it's set in high school, so like I don't know, I feel like you can kind of like go with shows, you know what I mean? Like shows that
Yeah.
are like have that like level of angst, but like have a humor about it. Like I feel like the intensity increases exponentially of like the fandom.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, the number one thing is that like, so I've been slowly like watching cast interviews and stuff,
Mhm.
and I'm really, like, wary of doing that because, first of all, it, like, completely sets you over the edge. Like, once you watch one, like, you have to watch everything.
Of course.
And then I also, like, well, then there's also the thing where, like, you worry that, like, oh no, what if I don't like these, like, actors as much as I like the characters? And then it.
Yep.
And then, but then, okay, the weirdest thing, though, or it's not weird necessarily, but it's just, like, I guess this is the case with most fandoms now, since, like, most actors and stuff are on Twitter and, you know, like, go to Comic-Con and stuff, and, like, that's gotten bigger over the years, as far as I can tell, and et cetera, et cetera, and it seems like they're just, like, so much more aware of what's going on in the fandom than shows that I used to be into, where, like, that was more separate.
Right.
Like, there is that, which I'm sure everyone will know what I'm talking about, but there's that video of Dylan O'Brien and Tyler Hoechlin, and they're, like, on a boat.
Oh, yes. It was at Comic-Con or something.
Yeah, and, I mean, like, I'm talking, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Dylan is like, hey, we're on a ship, pun intended. It's, like, it's kind of cool because, like, they seem really good-natured about it, which, a lot of, especially, like, well, I'm thinking specifically of, like, My Chemical Romance, where they were like, can you guys please stop writing fanfiction about us? And I kind of have always gotten that impression from people, but, like, it's weird that they're, like, cool with it or something, I don't know. Anyway, but I know, like, we've had conversations about, like, shipping and stuff and how, like, it seems like everyone is, like, uses that term freely now, or, like, how it's...
Like, that's the first question people ask you. Hey, you watch this show, who do you ship? Instead of, like, who's your favorite character, or how do you feel about this season, or anything like that.
It's weird, because, like, I find, I mean, we can get more into, like, because I actually don't know, like, not that I don't know where you stand, but, like, I don't know, I feel like we're always too, like, or not too, like, oh, God, I'm being too polite. Like, just, like, as friends or something, like, we're always like, oh, yeah, like, I understand where you're coming from, like, all that kind of stuff, and so it's, like, sometimes I don't really know, like, wait, like, what do you actually think, or, like...
Right.
But at least for myself, like, I do... It's, like, a weird line where it's, like, I understand that, like, impulse that when you're first watching a show to automatically be like, ooh, are they going to get together? Ooh, I kind of want them to get together or whatever.
Right.
At the same time, that kind of stuff does make me uncomfortable, and I do feel like it's, like, something that is new, and therefore I guess, like, I'm, like, a grouchy old internet person who's, like, which everybody like 21 is, like, old for the internet. But he's just, like, chill out for a second and, like, get to the end of the show and then, like, think about that kind of stuff, but...
Right.
But are you, like... Well, okay, first of all, because I was thinking, like, I do remember, like, you used to read fanfic a little bit, or, like, I remember talking about it with you, but it seems like at some point that faded.
Like, when I was really into it was, like, I guess, like, in high school with, like, Fall Out Boy and stuff like that. And then I guess I think that was, like, around the time where LiveJournal was kind of, like, people didn't have it anymore, but then some people did. So a lot of the stories I read, like, the people deleted their accounts or, like, I don't know, went somewhere where I couldn't find them. So then I kind of got out of it. And then, like, within, like, in the past, like, year or two, I've kind of been reading stuff mostly about Suits. But,
oh, really?
Yeah. But,
isn't it so weird how, like, it can be so secretive? Or, like, like, I completely didn't know that. That, like, changes things. I mean, it doesn't really, but, you know, though, that makes sense because, first of all, there is a lot of, like, Suits fan fiction that I've read. And, it's there. And, okay, well, okay, so, go ahead.
I guess, like, I don't feel like people talk about, like, okay, with Teen Wolf, everyone talks about Steric. Like, that is, like, a huge thing.
Oh, we need to get into that, by the way. I need to, like, write that down.
But I feel like no one, with other shows, it's not, well, besides Supernatural. Like, I guess there's some shows where fic is really ingrained into the fandom, and there's other shows where it's just kind of on the back burner.
True. Also, I wonder why that is.
Yeah.
I guess maybe, it probably just depends on, like, how people interact outside of, the internet or something, because it seems like a lot of shows that if they have, like, a convention for it, like, how like, Supernatural, like, a big part of the fandom is going to conventions.
Right.
And so it seems like since fans are interacting a lot outside of the internet, then there's more of like a collective like way of being a fan.
Right.
Like, but there's other shows where it's like, or other things where it's like, well, I can't really like, or it's almost like your fandom exists like between you and like the way that you view the show, but you don't have as much of a sense of like, oh, everyone's like into this one thing, or everyone like thinks this one thing about the show.
Right.
But okay, well let's talk about Sarek, because I don't know. That's how I feel about it.
See, I feel like, because it's been a long time since I watched, like, the first and second season, so I'm kind of far removed, or I'm definitely really far removed from the first season, which I guess is when most of that happens.
Yes.
Because now I feel like it's very rare, or if it does happen, it's like it's 1 second and that's it.
Mm.
So, I don't know.
That's the thing that I don't get, is that, like, in the first season, there's, like, these, because of course, like, I knew that was, like, the big pairing or whatever.
Yeah.
The fandom. And so, I was kind of expecting, like, or I was, like, waiting on it to come up.
Yeah, like, every 5 seconds or something.
Right. And, like, it was there a little bit. Like, there was, like, I do remember, like, texting Caroline at some point, like, maybe I shouldn't even reference this because I can't remember what exact episode it was, but, like, Stiles says something about, like, either about how he's, like, still afraid of Derek, or how, like, why do they have to include Derek, or something like that. And I was like, well, it's obviously because you're in love with him. And, like, but, like, I got more of that vibe, like, in season 1, but, like, after that, it kind of wasn't there anymore. But I don't necessarily want to talk about, like, do I like it or not, because obviously that's, like, so subjective. But what I don't understand is, like, why is that the only pairing?
Right. Like, I feel like even before, like, Stiles and Derek, it would be Derek and Scott, or Stiles and Scott, or just, like, I feel like now, well, not this season necessarily, but maybe in the second season, you barely see Stiles and Derek, like, in the same room or something.
Right.
So I don't know, like...
Well, first of all, I think, well, this is actually Caroline's theory, because I asked her about it, and god damn it, I wish, like, I wasn't referencing her so much, because no one knows who she is, even though she was supposed to do, like, the first episode. Anyway, whatever. But, part of her theory was that, like, well, part of it is that, like, everyone loves Stiles, which I can see, and, and it seems like in most fandoms, like, the most popular pairing seems to be, like, you know, opposites attract or whatever. So the opposite of Stiles would maybe be Derek. But, it's still, like, a weird dynamic to me, and I just don't, it's weird that people, can interpret a show the same way, like, so, in such, like, a vast scale, you know? It seems like, okay, like, yeah, certain things are gonna obviously be popular, but, like, for that to be, literally, like, if I go on, like, if I'm, like, looking for, like, Teen Wolf fan fiction, well, have you, like, used Archive of Our Own at all?
I don't think so.
Oh. Well, you gotta get there, because it's like it's like the, it's, I don't know, it's just, like, more organized than like, LiveJournal or, like, anything else used to be.
Okay.
And anyway, so, like, you can, when you're looking for fic, you can, like, choose by pairing, or you can choose by, a specific character that's involved, or you can choose, like, the type, like, if it's, like, slash, head, or like just gen fic,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So like you can narrow it down really easily. So anyway, I'll usually choose like a couple a couple of pairings, but like, oh god. It is so shameful, not shameful, but it's like kind of embarrassing to admit like your own ships. Why is that? I don't know. Anyway.
Unless it's the popular ship.
Yes.
That's totally okay.
But like either like lately I've been reading a lot of Jackson with Styles, which maybe we'll get into that, I don't know. But also part of this is because I love Jackson. And or like Lydia and Styles or something like that. So like I'll choose one of those
We need to talk about that too.
Okay. And then when it comes like when the results come up, it's always like the pairing itself is Derek and Styles, and then it'll have like Lydia and Styles as like cast. So I can never find anything. Like I have to like sift through like all the Derek Styles, and sometimes I just give up because it's like, well, I guess that doesn't exist. Or like, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, this is well. I don't want to say. I'll hold off because I'll wait till you haven't finished the season, so I'll just wait.
First of all, I know that they kiss, which I'm pissed that I know.
No, okay, but this is the thing. Let's just talk about this kiss for a second because.
Wait. I haven't seen it yet. I just know that it happens.
Okay, well, it's not, but it is not. This won't ruin anything. Okay, like. I was angry with it, but not because like in the very beginning, more than anything, because I love Lydia, and of course everyone loves Styles, and so I was like he had a crush on her forever, you know, of course I'm going to root for stuff like that.
Right.
But the way the kiss happens is like the worst, like I just,
Can we acknowledge that, and I think it's season 1 when she and Scott kiss. I still don't understand why that happened.
Wait, when was that at the party?
Like, no, it's I forget exactly like what happens, but something happens where like either somebody, I know like if anyone listens to this episode, which hopefully they do, but if they do, they're like screaming right now because they can like think of the exact moment.
Right.
But it's like something happens where like somebody gets bit or somebody is like giving off weird werewolf vibes or something, I don't know, and Lydia pulls Scott into like a classroom or something and like makes out with him randomly. And then Styles is kind of mad at Scott for like an episode.
Oh wait, okay. I think I kind of remember that a little bit. Yeah.
Well, obviously, like they didn't really like acknowledge it very much.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
I feel like in the beginning, everyone else besides Scott and Allison, relationship-wise, is kind of ignored. Like, I guess they're still trying to set everything up, so they're the main focus. But yeah, I feel like that was
more
like
the main focus. Like Scott and Allison at the beginning are like Scott and Allison like in the actual show are like Steric in the fandom. Like
exactly. Like they cannot. Oh my god! Wait, the episode like where Scott is he figures out that when his heart rate goes up, like. He wolfs out or whatever, and so, like, the coach is yelling at him, and he grabs Allison's hand, and his heart is on Paul Eve, like, I'm, like, 16 years old in high school, like.
Yeah. And there's a lot, well, okay, anyway, we're getting way off topic. No, okay. Shit, I forgot where we even were, like, what you were saying before this. Lydia and Styles in their kiss.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's always weird. Like the whole show. Like I do really really like it, but there is kind of like an undercurrent, or that I feel like every time I'm watching it, I'm thinking in the back of my head like, oh wow, they're like playing to the audience so much. Like it's like not even necessarily about like plot, which like I think will probably happen more in the third season from what you've told me, but just like with the amount of guys taking off their shirt and
Yeah. Oh, God.
I mean, even, like, the way that, like, Lydia and Allison dress, like, I don't know, just, like, every little thing kind of seems, well, I guess it is partially because it's, like, MTV, but it's so, like,
That's
hey,
true, yeah.
it's so, like, kind of, like, trying to, like, latch on to what the kids are into today, kind of.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, I kind of feel like, at some point, I kind of felt like it's probably just the way Allison and Lydia dress, like Pretty Little Liars-esque or something, just like very, or just like the way I guess they treated the girls started becoming like that, like, because Allison obviously doing what she does with her dad, being a hunter and stuff, is not very like typical
Right.
of someone like a high school girl in a TV show or whatever.
But you know, at the beginning, it definitely, wait, I can't concentrate because I'm echoing. I don't know why, but I'll just keep talking. Wait, I really can't, like, concentrate. Hold on, I'm trying to fix something, I don't know. I'll just keep going. Hopefully it's not going over the recording. I don't think it is, it just stopped. Okay. But at the beginning, Allison, was, like, very typical. Like, I didn't like her for, like, the first 2 seasons, and not because, I feel like I'm always, like, no, I want to like the female characters because I know, like, everyone, or, like, there's so much, like, of course, as we all know, like, hate towards female characters in fandom. So I'm always, like, trying to force myself to like people, but I just, like, couldn't take it. It was like, what is your purpose other than, like, being Scott's anchor, and, like, she was just too, maybe part of it too is, like, the actress, which obviously she can't help, but
yeah,
I don't know. But then, of course, like, as it goes on, and I could bear her a little more, but just because she had more of a purpose, or, like, there was more going on there or something. But, like, at the beginning, it definitely seemed like she was just there, like, because she was cute or or, like, I don't know.
Yeah, before all of, like, the hunter stuff comes out. I could totally see that.
Right.
I've always liked Lydia. Like, from the beginning, I liked her. And what's sad about her is now I'm starting to dislike her because I feel like they gave her a lot of potential, and now they're just not working with it or something.
Yeah. I realized, like, it's funny because, and this goes back to, like, me, like, reading fan fiction rather than watching the show. Even though, like I just said, I do really like the show, and, like, I want to see what happens, but you get into this, like, comfort level with, like, being able to pick what you're going to read with fan fiction.
Right.
Kind of more, like, leverage or something than when you're watching the show, because anything could happen in the show.
Right.
But like, I just read this one story where it's like Lydia was in, it's called an algorithm for mistakes, and just in case anyone wants to look it up, but where, like, Lydia is, like, where, like, the whole pack or whatever goes to college. Like, they go to different colleges, but Lydia and Styles go to Stanford because they're smart. And she has, like, a really hard time adjusting to college, and then she's still kind of getting over everything with Peter. And, like, I don't know, there's just, like, a lot of, like, Lydia being angry, kind of. And, and which I found relatable, not only because, like, well, that was, like, similar to my college experience or whatever, or, like, or to just everyone's, like, frustration or, like, just trying to adjust or whatever to a new life. And then also it was kind of, like, cathartic because I do really have or not like a, I don't know, I kind of feel like I would need to watch the second season again to really get my head around how I feel about the whole thing with her and Peter, but my general feeling is bad. Like, it's like negative feelings because, and I don't feel like they really addressed it, or like they really, they addressed it as far as like, oh, like that's like a bad thing that happened and it was scary and blah blah blah. But after it happened, then it's kind of like, okay, well he's just here. Like,
yeah. Me and Janae, this girl I follow on Tumblr, we, like, always text during Teen Wolf, and, like, the first or second episode of the third season, I can't remember, like, Peter held to something, and she just, like, went off and was super furious about, like, how he, like, what he did with Lydia is, like, really, really bad, and it's kind of, like, instead of still addressing him as the bad guy, like, it's okay. Like, of course, with Allison's grandfather, like, he's the bad guy, and no one's, like, gonna get over that. But with Peter Hale, like, what he did was okay, and we're still just kind of, like, I just will never, ever, I can't. Whew! Okay.
Okay. Well, let's go back to, like, you, reading fan fiction in high school and maybe how it's changed now, or, like, what's made you want to read it again now. Because for me, I had a period where I didn't really read it at all, or, like, where I didn't really necessarily want to be involved in fandom, but it was obviously much shorter, or it was maybe, like, towards the very, very end of high school, and then, like, the first couple months of college or something. Like, I just, like, could not read fan fiction. Like, it just was the last thing that I wanted to do. And I felt like that had, and I kind of talked about this on the previous episode, but I kind of felt like part of it was because, not even because, like, I didn't have time, because even though, like, you're starting college, you still have that, like, weird, like, it still kind of feels like high school at the beginning. But it was just more like, I don't know, I felt like it was, like, something that, like, preteens did or something, or, like, I couldn't really find anything that resonated with me on a level beyond just, like, oh, there's, like, cute boys running around in this story. And now, I almost feel, like, snooty or something, like, reading fan fiction, and because, like, I'll look for, or, like, I'll start reading something and I'm like, oh, this is not written well. Like, not read it, or, like, I'll purposely, like, seek out. There's a way of people, like, the way that they explain their summary and the way that they, like, do their tags, and, like, even, like, the capitalization in the title, where you can kind of tell, like, I bet this is an older person, I bet that the story is going to be written, like, in this kind of style. So, like, now I've gotten really super picky about what I read, and I feel sort of uncomfortable if a story seems just too wrapped up in the pairing. Like, if that's the whole point of it, it's kind of like, I don't know, like, I have to, like, have more, there has to be more reason behind it. But, like, at the same time, I mean, I guess there's of course something that's, like, good about just reading, like, feel good, like, if people want to read, like, stories about cute boys, then they're more than welcome to. But anyway, let's talk about you, though.
Well, I guess I really, like, the main thing with me, I guess, is probably because I wanted to still read or be involved with the characters on the show. And, you know, nowadays, like, a show comes on, they'll show half the season or whatever this time, and then you have to wait, like, a whole another year or something for the other half. And I guess I just got sick of, like, basically not having anything to do with those characters in that time span.
Right. Is Suits still on?
No.
Oh,
wait,
okay.
Yes it is.
I think I'm thinking of Leverage.
Oh, yeah, that went off last December, yeah. Suits is still on, and it's on, like, right now, like, the first half of the third season or something. And, of course, I'm getting frustrated with that, but that's a whole other story. But I guess that was just the main thing, not being able to be in touch or whatever with those characters for such a long time, waiting for the show to come back on.
And, like, because, obviously, what are your, where do you go to, like, I feel like I'm, like, delving into, like, your business.
Well, I can't even remember, I don't even remember where I went. Well, most of the time I think I always happen upon them, like, if I go through the Suits tab on Tumblr or something, there's always a bunch of fic posted there. So that's how I happen upon most of it. And then I think that's really it. Like, I come across instead of looking for.
Right. Maybe that's part of the whole, like, shipping and et cetera, because I really do feel like shipping comes out of fan fiction. Like, people talk, to me, it's weird when people talk about, like, who they ship without acknowledging, like, fandom in a way. Like, I'm thinking of, like, Yvette Nicole Brown, who, I mean, of course, like, I love and everything, but she mentioned it on, an episode of The Talking Dead, and, like, or she's, like, talking about ships, and I was thinking, like, Yvette, do you read fanfic? Like, like, that's the only thing that I can think of, because to me that's where it comes from, you know?
Right, right.
But anyway, but maybe that's, like, part of, like, why it's, like, so prevalent now or whatever, even outside of fanfic, is because, like you said, like, on Tumblr, people, like, post fic there, and which I used to be very, like, ugh, like, this is Tumblr, this is not fanfiction.net about it,
Right.
but, like, lately, as I'm sure, like, you've seen, like, I've been posting more about, like, fanfiction, in my own way, or, like, the other day, like, I just posted, like, a quote from a story that I was reading, but I think part of it is because, like, part of it is obviously because, like, well, like, now my day-to-day life has more to do with fan fiction because I'm doing this podcast, and because, like, there is something, I do want to do, like, something with fan studies in, grad school. But then also part of it is kind of, like, when you get to that, and I'm sure, like, you know what I'm talking about, and other people will know what I'm talking about, but when you get to that age, or, like, some age or something, some point in your life where you're all of a sudden you're just like, you know what, I don't have any guilty pleasures anymore, like, I just have things that I enjoy.
Exactly.
And so I feel like now I'm becoming a lot more, like, for instance, when I was starting this podcast, I was trying to, like, I was getting frustrated with myself because I wasn't doing as much as I thought I could, or, like, I didn't really know how to start it, and all that kind of stuff, like, as you know, like, just feeling insecure about it. I was talking to one of the people I work with, and like, she asked me what it was going to be about, what the podcast was going to be about, and I was like, I didn't really, like, know how to explain it, but then I tried to, like, honestly, like, say, like, okay, well, this is what fan fiction is, like, stuff like that. I feel like 16-year-old me or younger, like, would be so horrified, like, how could you talk about fan fiction and
Right.
like, you know, like, but I don't know, maybe part of it is just that, like, I realized, sorry, I'm slightly distracted right now because I'm sitting in front of my window, and there is, like, an 8-year-old girl that just rode her bike into our driveway and stopped and is, like, off her bike motioning to someone. I don't
Okay.
I'm confused right now, but anyway, but before, like, maybe when I was, like, you know, like, early to mid-teens or whatever, fan fiction was really, like, this, like, I hate using the word naughty because it automatically sounds like porn to me.
Yeah,
like,
it was taboo. Basically.
Yes, and also because, like, of that thing where I was just talking about how, like, now, like, people talk about it on Tumblr and Twitter and stuff, which is more like your personal life or more public or whatever. But before, it used to just be on fanfiction and LiveJournal, or those were the only places that I saw it. So it kind of seemed like, well, if you talk about it outside of that, then it's kind of like opening up this whole world to people who you don't know how they're going to react.
Right.
So,
Right.
So, anyway, but now, of course, it's like, whatever, like, people can think what they want, and I also think, like, part of it maybe was because I used to exclusively read Slash, and then, like, that's a whole other thing to explain to people.
Yeah, exactly.
Although, of course, that's not the case anymore.
But even, like, when shipping people first became a thing that people said out loud, there were still those people, which now that I think about it, most of them were older, and I think I was in this crowd a little bit myself. Whenever two people from his show would talk about people shipping them, they'd be like, oh my god, like, don't say anything about it, this is so embarrassing, and all that stuff.
Oh, you mean, like, when, like, the actors and stuff would mention it, like, at conventions and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I still feel that way in some, I don't know, I feel like maybe I shouldn't feel that way, and I kind of get more irritated, like, if the actors are really, like, uncomfortable, like publicly uncomfortable with it, or just, like, make a big deal out of it, because it's kind of like, well, dude, you know this is, like, not for you, though, right? Like, no one, I mean, obviously there's going to be, like, the unfortunate case every once in a while of, like, a 12-year-old sending a, like, fic to somebody or whatever, like, somehow them stumbling across it, But, like, for the most part, like, people, like, don't engage in fan fiction in order for the person who it's about to read it, you know? Like,
Right.
that really kind of, like, I feel like I, like, spent a whole month being angry about that for some reason, just because, like, it's a weird way of, like, I don't know how to put it into words, like, maybe, like, owning the fandom or something, or like saying like, well, you guys can do this whole thing like on your own, uh outside of like out of our site or whatever, but we'll still
Mhm.
find out about it and we'll still call you on it. Like, it's kind of this like weird like dynamic of like, hey, by the way, like, we're the ones who actually have the control here, because obviously, like, if they say, like, that whole thing with My Chemical Romance, like, I went back and when I was writing that whole essay about fan fiction or whatever for that conference I went to,
Mhm.
I went back and watched that video of, like, I think it's Ray saying, like, just please don't write us having sex with each other or something, and it's, like, said jokingly, but it really was kind of like, first of all, you obviously don't understand, like, the point
Yeah.
of fan fiction or whatever, and like, A, it's not all about like you guys having sex,
Right.
and B, like, we understand that it's not real. Like, fans aren't ignorant of that, you know,
Right.
like,
Right.
but I think there's like, I don't know, there's like I don't know, there's just like an enjoyment there that's supposed to be for fans, and it kind of seems like when people comment on it, then like all of a sudden it's like it kind of makes you feel bad, or like maybe the intention is like, I don't know.
I wonder too if there's a difference, like when with fic with like people in TV shows, they play characters,
Oh yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
it's not them, and then with like a band, it is like that's them.
Right. Yeah, like for instance, I guess I just am not gonna shut up about My Chemical Romance, but whatever. I actually, that was obviously like, as you were talking about, like, you being into Fall Out Boy and stuff in high school, which obviously you're always gonna be into Fall Out Boy,
Of
but
course.
but like My Chem is like, to me, like my primary fandom, even though like right now I'm not reading any fic in that. But anyway, so I was listening to the Nerdist podcast, the most recent one, with Gerard, who I don't know why it took so long for him to get on that podcast, but anyway,
Really?
I know, but actually maybe I know the answer, because to me, and like, not to like, I mean, not that I expect like Chris Hardwick to be listening to this podcast right now, but if it ever does happen, like, I am not trying to like put them down as like a podcast, but I'm really like not into that right now. Or like the Nerdist podcast. Just because like, uh, he, well, no, I'm not gonna spend time like criticizing the Nerdist podcast. Anyway, my point is that he asked like, what was one thing that, like, he was asking Gerard, what was one thing that you think that fans of My Kin didn't really get, like what's one thing about the band that you felt like you were putting out there that no one ever, like, in all the years that they were a band, that no one ever really picked up on? And at first Gerard was like, well, I think like everyone like pretty much got it, like, not only because like they hammered it into everyone's heads, like their whole message, but like people seem to like pick up on like all the subtleties of the band and stuff. And I was like, okay, great answer. And then he said like, but the only thing is like, I don't think people got that, like the whole thing where like they would, well, that they used to do, where like him and Frank would make out on stage or whatever. He was like, there were some people who like never got like, oh, that's not real, or like that's not like a thing. And it's like, I'm pretty sure like everyone knows it's not real. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
or like, or maybe like they believe it. Like, especially like younger people, I feel like I believed in stuff like that more often. But I knew like it wasn't a thing, but I just wanted it to be so bad or something.
Right.
I mean, that's not only with like pairings, but just like celebrities in general. Like, I want them to be this type of person.
Right.
But like, that it's not that way, but I guess just like when you're younger, it seems like you are more prone to like, in your head, like trying to make things, or just like believing in ideals that
Right.
people could possibly be. But I don't know. And then that, like, anyway, my point is that like that kind of like irked me too, because like, do you really think that like people are like fooled, or that people are like that gullible that they're so invested in like this quote unquote fake relationship? I
Right.
mean, I don't know. I also think like part of it is that like um I don't know. I want to ask right now, like, why do people ship people? Like, why is that like an impulse to like want people to be together?
Right. Outside of like, at least on a TV show, where the TV show is making you
Right.
obviously like root for those people.
Right. Like, for instance, and I guess like we can call my embarrassed self out with like Jackson and Styles from the beginning of from probably the middle of the first season. I really really liked Jackson, and then obviously like everyone loves Styles, and but then it's like I couldn't even really explain like why would I think like this like those two characters could ever be together, as like some like random like frat guy might say, like there's like there's no evidence of it in the show. I really really do like, I don't really like when people like kind of invalidate a ship because it's not in the show, or because like it can never happen or something.
Yeah.
You know, like, well, yeah, like I know it could never happen, or you know, theoretically I know it couldn't happen, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have an appeal,
Right.
or that doesn't mean that like I don't want to make it happen. But I also am kind of noticing that the way that the pairings that I'm typically drawn to, and whether or not they're like more based in fandom or based in like the canon that goes on in shows,
Mhm.
um, tends to be like the same across the board. Like in Harry Potter fanfiction, which I don't really read a lot of, only because it's very hard to find like good Harry Potter fiction because there's so much of it.
Mhm.
But I used to always read like Ron and Harry together in I don't know, just in like all of my fandoms. Usually my main pairing is like best friends, like because
Hmm.
so like at the beginning of Teen Wolf, it was actually Scott and Styles more, and like I would watch, and there's like that video, or there's plenty of videos online of like Tyler and Dylan like being being
Ridiculous.
basically. Um, and like that appeals to me a lot. I don't know why it does, but like I did notice that like it's the same. And then there's Jackson and Styles, who I also notice that I tend to be drawn to like whatever character I feel has the most potential, but that I feel like people just aren't, that I feel like is flattest in the show.
Yeah.
Like for instance, like Luna in Harry Potter. Going back to Harry Potter, I feel like is such an interesting character, and they make her an interesting character, but there's like so much underneath there that they never get to explore. The same with Jackson. I feel like is a really interesting character, but they kind of never really got beneath his like exterior. They did a little bit with like the Kanema stuff, but
Yeah.
not really on like a level where if you just watch the show you would like really feel connected to him or anything.
Yeah. He was just like the bad boy or whatever in school. And that was it. Like just like the really mean to Scott and like really nothing beyond that.
Right, right. There's like a little bit of like angst there, like, and like I mean I like the whole like everything with like, okay, well like he's adopted and we know that, and like the fact that Danny's his best friend. It's like they attempted to make him more complex than just like, you know, like the mean jock kind of guy,
Right.
but never really took it beyond that. I guess they were too focused on Scott and Allison making out.
Exactly.
And
Because I would have loved to see, because Danny is one of my favorite characters too. I would have loved to see like them out, like, because actually everything I can think of right now that was an interaction between them was kind of Jackson being mean to Danny, like
yeah.
not a friendship thing at all.
No, yes, because I was just like, everyone like loves Danny, which I can understand because I like him, but I also, there's something there where I'm kind of like, I'm missing something because, well, first of all, I don't know, there's so much around like, okay, well, like at the beginning he's like the gay character, not necessarily in a bad way or in like like that's his only role. Like he definitely like has like stuff behind that, but it's the same thing where it's like they have these very stereotypical characters and they kind of go past that, but then they're still like depending so much on like, okay, well this is the main fact that we know about this person.
Right.
And so with Danny, it's kind of like I haven't necessarily, and I know that like there's a little bit more of him in season 3, so we'll see when I get there, but okay, but going back to him and Jackson, you are absolutely right. There's like every single time that to me that they're on screen together, they're not acting like buddy. It's like Danny being like, "Hey Jackson, what's wrong?" And Jackson's like, "Oh fuck you, Danny," and like storms off.
Exactly. Or like when Jackson asked to borrow the camera. No, that wasn't from him. That was from someone else. But when something in the locker room. What is the thing with Jackson and Danny? I can't remember, but I feel like it's like there's some big well, it doesn't matter. It's the same way Jackson storms off angry.
It doesn't matter the interaction. It always ends with Jackson storming off with anybody. Yeah, but I mean,
whatever happens to the guy, this proves how, like, I don't remember anything. The guy that Jackson borrowed the camera from.
Matt?
Yes. What was the whole thing with him? I can't.
Remember his whole thing was, like, he drowned and then he came back to life, and so Gerard.
Oh, okay.
By the way, that drowning was, like, so harsh to me to watch. Even though, like, obviously, like, okay, well, like, I guess he's the bad guy now towards the end, but I guess it's like, well, I don't know if they wanted us to feel sad for Matt or not, but, like, just the fact that, like, Gerard's so, like, carelessly was like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna kill you now. Like,
exactly. See, okay, I don't want to say anything. Well, this doesn't give anything away. But in the third season, I feel like they're kind of trying to bring Gerard back, but then nothing happens. But I guess this is like the first half.
Oh no! Stop speaking.
Season.
Stop speaking. I didn't. Okay. I mean, okay, that doesn't completely.
That doesn't give anything away, but you'll see what I mean, and it's just not. See, okay, this is another thing that bothers me about Teen Wolf lately, is that the first 2 seasons were 12 episodes or whatever, and then this season's 24, and but I feel like this season finale, or this first half season finale, was a very season finale, and like, if I'm watching the DVD of this season, I would want to stop at the last episode that aired. I wouldn't want to, like, you know what I mean? It just doesn't, I don't understand this whole 3A, 3B if this one feels like it's over.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. It kind of seems like it should end, there's an arc there, and maybe it should be, like, in the middle of the arc, so you're left with, like, you're left questioning something, but there's a bigger question that still hasn't been answered.
That's true.
It's hard to, like, say, it's hard to, like, really talk about it when I haven't seen it, but.
Yeah. But I guess I could see, like, this being, like, this to me was kind of like, which, by the way, it's a very beautiful episode. Beautiful. Like, the scenery, okay, I'm sorry. I could see this being, like, the 5th season finale of Supernatural.
Okay.
Yeah, so
well,
this
you know
is,
what,
like,
though,
that's their, like, ending.
I have seen gifs of, like, I don't know where this is in the 3rd season. I don't think it was the episode that just recently aired, but, of, like, Styles and Scott and possibly Lydia, and they're, like, all wet. And they're
it's Allison. It's, like, the first opening scene. That was my favorite scene.
Okay. Well, yeah, can't wait to get there. Anyway. Okay, well, I guess I should technically be wrapping up soon because I've been trying to, like, not let these episodes go so far where we're just talking about everything in the entire world. But I do want to, like, kind of go back to talking about fan fiction being so, or not, I shouldn't say fan fiction because I don't want it to just tie down to fan fiction because there's obviously so many different mediums of, like, fan experience or fan works that there are, but all of those things seem to be so tied to, like, screaming preteen girls who don't know anything about life or who aren't serious or, like, et cetera, et cetera. It's like the like vilification, is that a word? I don't know. Like the demonizing of like obsessive fandom. And so like it's kind of like, for instance, like at work again, and I work with, just in case people don't know, I work at a news station, a local news station, and so you would think that like everyone there, like if you're really into like some film / TV related thing, they would understand or like agree with you, and there are a couple of people who are like that, but generally speaking, like I don't talk about, and this is also just with people in general, but if I'm like in the middle of watching a show, and like for instance this whole like month or whatever that I've been watching Teen Wolf, like, and I've wanted to talk about it, like I'm not gonna go and talk to somebody at work. I'm gonna like talk to like my one like Teen Wolf friend or something, you know,
Right.
like it's this like weird thing where it's like I don't want to be, even though I see that it's bullshit, but like I don't want to be seen as like, oh, like she just like goes home and like watches all these sci-fi shows. Like it's so like, I don't know why. You know what I mean? Or like this,
Yeah.
it's just like it's almost like, oh, you're still obsessed with celebrities, like that kind of thing, where it's like
Right.
I don't want someone to see that like the background of my phone is like the Teen Wolf cast, which it is not, because I still can't choose a background that's the Teen Wolf.
Well, mine is the TARDIS right now, so I can't talk at all.
Right. But it's that, I mean, it's that weird thing where like, even though like nerdy, quote unquote nerdy stuff is like more mainstream now, or it's kind of cool to be a nerd, I still feel very like, not ashamed, but like, or it's that thing where it's like, you know that there's no problem with it, but you still kind of act in a certain way to like avoid having to address it.
Right. Well, I feel like most of the people, like the people I worked with, we would talk about shows. Like a lot of people in the office watched Community and Parks and Rec and Game of Thrones and stuff, but they still, like, all we could really talk about was major plots or something. Like they didn't watch it as intensely and, you know, like certain characters in certain ways and stuff as I did. So it's still, like, it's like you said, you're very surfacey with how you talk about, like, you love it, of course, and could talk about it all day, but they're just like, it's something they watch, and that's it.
No, I know. Like, I just heard your dryer.
Yeah.
And, hey, your clothes are done. No, but like Anna from work will. I mentioned to her once that I was watching, or that I was rewatching Buffy with Aaron,
Mm-hmm.
and so now every once in a while she'll be like, so are you gonna go, like, what are you gonna do when you go home? Are you gonna watch Buffy? And it's kind of like, first of all, it's kind of irritating because, like, okay, that's over now.
Right.
But also it's kind of like, but you do realize that, like, first of all, when I say, like, oh, this one show that I'm obsessed with, there's, like, 5 other shows that are also, like, to that level.
Right.
But also, like, I don't have to go home and watch Buffy to still be obsessed with Buffy. Like, it's kind of like some people, like, they'll go through phases of, like, you know, binge watching a show or whatever, so, like, they'll want to talk about it, but, like, it's not something where it's, like, literally ingrained into the type of person that they are. Like, right now, all of us are, meaning me, you, and Aaron, are not necessarily watching Supernatural like we used to, or for me, like, not at all. But, like, we still, like, make references and stuff to Supernatural. Like, it's still, like, it's, like, a part, it's, like, almost, like, in our memory the same way that stuff that happened in high school is in our memory. Like, it's, like, it's almost like that's, like, part of, like, our friendship, but it's not, like, you know what I'm talking about. Like, it's like stuff that, it's like almost like, okay, well, this thing that happened in the show is also something that happened in, like, our real lives.
Right. Like, I could put on my supernatural hat. My supernatural hat. My supernatural. Like, whenever necessary. Like, I can bring it up at any time and talk about this, that, and the other episode and blah, 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 blah. But just because I'm not, like you said, I'm not watching it. Well, actually, I am watching. I'm rewatching it right now. It's still, like, that's the thing, too, is that we can go back and rewatch stuff a bazillion times, and to other people, that's just, like, almost a crazy thing to do. to want to go back and rewatch a show a bazillion times.
Yeah, but doing that there's so much stuff though that you like forget that you loved, or it's not even that you're going back and like, ooh, every time I watch it I see something different. Like usually with like shows that I've watched a million times, like Buffy or something, I don't necessarily see something different. It's like I'm reminded of something that becomes relevant to me in a new way. Like for instance, just like talking about Buffy or whatever, like that show is so, maybe this is just every good show, but whatever it is says something to you about like your life or about life in general, or like whatever makes that show is like putting forth a certain perspective, like where it's kind of like certain fans, like, like what a typical Supernatural fan is probably going to be like, certain things that they think are true, certain things that they think are funny,
right,
etc. Like each show has its own personality, kind of. So it's like, it's almost like saying like, okay, well, I had this like relation, or like I had like a friendship with somebody. Okay, now that like I haven't talked to them for a week, I'm not going to go back and talk to them. Like, yeah, you're going to go back and talk to that person because you like that person. You know?
Right.
I'm kind of like, I don't know, I feel like I'm not explaining it very well. But it's like, for instance, me and you can talk about, like, something in life, and like a year later we could talk about the same thing, but we have something different to say. Like, it's not like, oh wait, didn't we already talk about this? Like,
right,
well, yeah,
exactly.
you talked about it, but like you're a different person now or something. So each time that I go back and watch a show that I really like, it's like, quote unquote, not to be cheesy, but revisiting an old friend or whatever, where it's like, okay, like now we're bringing something new to the conversation, and where I'm not necessarily seeing something new in the show, I'm getting something new out of it, out of the same things.
Right. Right.
Anyway, so on that note, on that extremely long and involved spiel, I guess we'll end here. Hopefully we can do this again, because I like doing I like doing stuff with people that actually know me. But cool beans.
Alrighty.
Oh wait, I was gonna say, hey, what are you into right now? Like, what would you say is your fandom right now? You said you're rewatching Supernatural.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm rewatching Supernatural right now, and of course, like I never won't like Supernatural, but I guess lately, for one thing, I feel like a lot of people like that I follow on Tumblr and stuff have just started watching it, or just finished watching it, or just gotten into it or something. So yeah, I've seen a lot of posts about it, and lately all of the posts have been Dean. Like, everyone just loves Dean, and I just finished the second season. And like throughout, up until the season finale of season 2, I literally had this, like, I've never experienced it any other time I've rewatched the show, but I had this ridiculous, intense hatred for Dean. Like,
wow.
Yeah, I know. Like, I guess, I don't know, I feel like I'm really sensitive lately with things that have happened in my personal life, as far as people being mean to me and being sarcastic about it. And of course, that's how Dean is to Sam all the time. So I don't know if I was taking it personally or what the deal was, but basically up until like the season 2 finale, I just was like, every time Dean would talk, shut up, Dean! Like, every single time, I just wasn't feeling it.
Okay. Well, maybe I've been meaning to rewatch Supernatural too soon, so maybe once I get that underway, we could do another episode and talk about that, because Lord knows there's so much to talk about with that show. But anyway, thanks, Shannon, for humoring me.
No problem.
Thanks, bro. You know, like, my new thing, I'll probably end up cutting this out because it's so stupid, but my new thing is, like, now I, like, kind of want to refer to my female friends as bro.
Okay.
This is like my best bro, like, okay. Alright, anyway, alright, well, I'll talk to you later then. Actually, I'll talk to you tomorrow, hey.
Oh, yeah, that's
You'll
right.
be here.
That's right, I will.
Alright, cool. Cool beans. Well, thank you. It was a great episode, dude. Dude, bro.
Okay, why are we in the movie?
Bra. Okay. All right. Talk to you later.
Okay.
Okay, bye.